Good morning, people. Excuse me. This is Sadi Phayet. Welcome to my channel. Oh, my voice has gotten all. So, I was supposed to go live like a few minutes or like a while ago. I haven't done a video for a year. At least, well, no, it's been a little bit more than a year because I think I started doing my videos and not live, but just pre-recorded videos in July. Was really when I started building my channel and started building my writer's page. But for those of you who don't know, I'm an indie writer. I write short story fiction. I'm going to get into writing longer fiction, like novella length. I don't know if I'll ever, I probably will end up doing novels when I'm less busy, probably a little older. And good morning. And I also write poetry. I write commentary. I write screenplays. And I write creative nonfiction, creative nonfiction is when you have real life stories to tell or real life memories that you want to put in story format, but you don't remember all of the facts. So you get a little creative, embellish a little, fill things in where you might be missing something, and things like that. But and I also write just nonfiction where it's just real life, it's like memoir type of writing. So my subject today or this morning for my talk is the adventure of life, finding your path. And the reason that this is significant right now is because, we've all been through the recession, which really hit in 2008, a little bit before that even. And then it has, it's been pretty consistent. There's been some increase in employment, especially for those of a professional class, but I have to say that I've had a hard time getting a job. And now I have wonderful credentials. And then we went on quarantine, and my credentials are mainly for, like publishing or higher education. And so, with a lot of campuses that either went virtual, some even took a pause in their operating, it's become even more difficult. But I see it also as an opportunity because there are a lot of courses that are now going to be taught online. So that's good for me. And I've been considering just developing my own course program. So we'll talk about that in another video. But for today, I wanted to just give a little bit of encouragement and inspiration when it comes to if you're looking for a new life path, when it comes to work, when it comes to lifestyle. I wanted to talk about that and how I actually, have found my new path, and it's been recent. Uh, but first, I'd like to say I'm a very adventurous soul. So at some point, I would love to even live mobile, where I'm traveling, but I work from home. If I'm able to really start making money, working on my own, and then I would find some whether I would convert a school bus or uh, rehab an RV, which is another option. I watch so many videos on things like that, or build a mobile tiny house, which really converting a school bus is, a tiny house version. Another version is if you live in an RV and you either gut it and totally recalibrate it to look like well, it already looks like a home, but to look like a more custom home, a more updated version of the tiny home. Any of those, I would love to do that because I am a writer. I do have 2 channels. I announced to my writer's page recently that a month ago, I started a tarot reading channel on YouTube, which, I come from a very conservative family. I'm very conservative, but I'm very creative. I'm very open minded. This is my tiny RV that I got from the dollar store that inspires me to stay focused on my goal to be mobile. Um, and I've always been fascinated with gypsies. And then I found out last year that there's like a plethora of people on YouTube that read tarot cards. You know, some do get a little too deep and go a little far as predicting everything in your future. I don't. This is, to me, this is a vehicle, and this is like one of my decks. I have several, but this is a vehicle for inspiring people. A lot of the cards, especially oracle cards, give you a very grounded spiritual knowledge and advice on how to navigate, the ups and downs of life. So it's not like, ooh, I see that there's, a dark fog coming up in your life. If you're living, there's gonna be something negative coming up. There's gonna be something positive, and you're gonna keep being resilient and moving through it all. It's, I'm very grounded and simple in all things. And so, yeah, I don't get into some uh witchcrafty. Some people do. I mean, like I said, there are many paths to the path to finding true enlightenment. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling because it's my first time back, but and I'm just trying to organize my thoughts. I do have index cards, but but this is live, and so usually I'm pre-recording, and if I make faux pas, I just start it over. It takes so long for me to load those videos, so that's why on this and my tarot channel, I do like to, go live. Anywho, what I was saying is, oh crap, what was I saying? I think I was saying that, I don't know. We're gonna go on to another point then. So anyway, I am pretty open when it comes to, oh, yeah, that's what it was. When it comes to the type of work I do, I mean, some people, have gotten into selling, who had really professional careers, have gotten into selling and growing marijuana. That's out of the box. You know what I mean? So me reading for tarot, me giving people entertainment, but really, like, even if you look at my setup, you know what I mean? I'm a regular, steady, really ordinary type person. I'm not the type who's gonna be like, oh, I feel the spirit is working through me and now I'm gonna shake and I have a message for you. Bat out. That's not, that's never gonna be me, okay? Mhm. So anywho, Um, I first want to give you a foundation in work as it relates to my work ethic, and who I am. I grew up in a very strict environment. My parents were in the civil rights movement in college, and they did, a lot. My father was the president of the NAACP on their campus. My mother did 2 terms in Mississippi registering our people to vote, which was a life-threatening endeavor. And then my mother came from a very educated family. My father came from a very hardworking family. I mean, just really good work ethic. And um, and then on his father's side, a very musical and creative family. And so the way that they raised us, because my father was the first in his immediate family to go to college, I think he did have uncles that went to college or that were educated, but um, he was the one among his siblings that went to college. His mother was not college educated, although she was just extremely hardworking. And so my parents raised us. We got spankings, but we weren't abused. We only got spankings one way. My father had experienced some brutality with maybe being slapped in the face or being cursed at, or things like that that he didn't like. And so when him and my mother would talk to us, he would always portray that there were certain things he had experienced that he would not do with us. But we did get spanked with a belt. We did not get spanked every day for every little tiny thing. It was not like that. But if we did things like we were obedient to the rules of the family, we did things that were just wrong, we want to make faces and talk back, no, you got your spanking at the end of the day. But we also mainly were instilled with a very strong work ethic. Like, we had to keep our rooms clean. My parents had 6 girls and 1 boy. And so usually, traditionally in families, the boys did the yard work, you know what I mean? Did things like clean out the garage, took care of animals, especially when it came to if there were kennels to be cleaned out. No, the oldest ones in my family were girls. So we did all of it. We did feminine chores and we did masculine chores. We had, and then me, I did the most chores out of everyone because I was second to the oldest. And I saw, and in a big family, parents get overwhelmed. Both my parents had master's degrees. My mother, after she had the fifth of their children, went back to school. She had a year of her master's to complete. She had already started it when they got pregnant with my oldest sister and then got married. So she had another year to finish her master's. She went back to school. My father supported her. He picked up the slack sometimes, even though he worked probably 1 or 2 jobs always. Like, he was a police officer at that time, and he would teach on the weekends at one of the community colleges, and just, yeah. And he even created a basketball team for that community college, and they would compete throughout the state. And so my parents were go-getters, you know. But in the vein of them being so hardworking, they raised us that way. So our chores were to clean the house. If your chore was to clean the kitchen, and we did a routine of weekly chores. And so if your chores was the kitchen, it was the kitchen usually just after dinner, but it was the kitchen for that entire week. And you were responsible. At that point, we had 9 people in the family. You're responsible for washing all of the dishes. So everything mommy used to cook the dinner, the meal, everything we used to eat the meal, everything you had to clean up after whatever food preparation. And usually she probably did some cleaning as she was cooking, as most women do, or most people that cook do. Um, but yeah, you had to, and my father taught us to wash dishes the way he learned it in the military. Because if you remember, in the military, Black men, and usually at that time it was men that were in the military, but Black men had to do menial labor more than soldiering many times. But I think most people were cross trained for just discipline. And so the way he taught us was the way he was trained. We had to stack the dishes a certain way: cups with the cups, bowls with the bowls, plates with the plates, silverware with the silverware, pots and pans. Then we had to wash them in an order because the silverware and the pots and pans had the most grease or the most debris on them. And so you scrape the plates before you stack them to be washed. You get all extra food off, scrape any, hard things that might be on plates, and then they're ready to be washed. Same things with bowls. But we had to wash the cups first, then you do the plates, then you do the bowls, then you did the silverware, then you did the pots and pans. And my father taught us he would say, put some elbow grease in. I mean, he would stand over us in training us like a drill sergeant. That was just the how we were raised. Okay. So when you are trained in whatever your lifestyle is that your parents train you in, you find peace in that routine, especially because it's a routine. It's a consistent activity that you're taught and you do it daily. So the kitchen was one chore, then there was the bathroom. Again, we had one bathroom, even though we grew up in a house, we had one bathroom, 9 people. I was picky when it came to the bathroom. Even when I was, young before I went through puberty or anything, I didn't want to see hair everywhere. Did not. So I was very picky. Even when it wasn't my chore, I would clean the toilet and the tub just or this and the sink, from people brushing their teeth. Yeah, I would do spot cleans on a regular just because I didn't have the stomach for certain things. I just did not. And this is coming from real life. So don't anybody be like, oh my God, there was hair in your bathroom. There's hair in your bathroom. Come on. So anyway, um, and we were all hardworking. All my siblings were. My father was hard on all of us. My mother was hard on all of us. If you left your chore, if you were on kitchen duty, say, and you went to bed at the end of the day, somebody, usually it was my mother, who would get up 1 or 2 in the morning, and we didn't have cockroaches. We had water bugs maybe for a spell. And when I was really little, and I think I got up in the middle of the night and saw some on the floor in the kitchen and ran and told my mother. And after that, we had orkins. So we didn't grow up with just, yeah, that kind of experience on a regular basis. But even still, who wanted, to have a nasty house. And so my mom would come and poke us, get up and clean up this kitchen, you know? And you had to get up and complete it properly. So, like I said, we learned to scrub the dishes. If the pots needed to be soaked before you get to the point where it's their turn to be washed, you had to learn to soak them in hot water. My father taught us how to wash the dishes in the hottest water we could stand. It had to be not just no lukewarm water, that's nasty. Because why? Heat kills germs, right? And even if that wasn't his conscious thought, that's just how we were trained. That's how he was trained in the military. So he, like I said, he brought that to the table. Um, our other chores was our bedrooms, um, vacuuming, straightening up. We had 2 living rooms. One was called the living room, one was called the sitting room. The living room was at the very front of the house. The sitting room was after. Okay, so the living room was here, then there was our entryway and foyer, and then there was another living room, so that was called the sitting room. My parents' room was opposite that, and then there was our dining room. The dining room was a separate chore from the kitchen, and that meant, you had so many chairs because we were a big family. So you had to really scrub the table down. You had to clean the chairs and move them out of the room. You had to sweep and mop the floor. And I believe we had a built-in buffet, so or hutch, buffet and hutch. And you had to anything my mother may have set there as far as food, you had to make sure that was wiped down and clean. The glass windows for the hutch, which was really a china cabinet hutch, you had to make sure that was clean and that the dishes inside of that were nice and neat. Yeah, we had real chores. If your chore was the back, okay, so we had an enclosed back porch in the sense that it was a part of the house. And I don't know how to illustrate it, but our pantry was out there, but it was a separate door for off the kitchen, right? So you would open that door, and that door locked too. You would open that door and you'd be on this landing before you went down the stairs to the basement, which was a um, two-tiered thing. The stairs was like in 2 separate sections. But anywho, so you're on the landing. There's this wood door. Really, these days it would be really in style, really cool to have. It's almost like a barn door for our pantry. And so you would open that, and there was all of our canned goods. And then you go down the stairs, and then there's the back door. And then you go down the stairs further, which were really just stone stairs that were painted, and you're in the basement. So whoever's chore that was, you had to sweep that area. You had to sweep down the back stairs. And that probably went along with maybe the dining room chore, I'm thinking. But anyway, then there was someone that had to do the laundry for the week for the entire family. We had a laundry chute in our bathroom that went down and landed in the dryer room. Our washer was in the main part of the main room of the basement, and then the dryer was in the room where the laundry chute ended up. Everything ended up. But I'm mentioning all that to say, this is just my history in work, right? So at a certain age, my father had gotten two German Shepherd puppies, a male and a female. And initially they lived in the basement because they were just babies. And my father made a pen for them. And then he and one of my godfathers that was also a police officer trained me in how to train them. Right. And so their entire life, I was the one that took care of them. I washed them. I fed them every day. I played with them every day. I made sure they got exercise. As they started getting older, they lived outside. We had a fenced in backyard. But see, we had a huge yard. Like we had a double lot in Chicago, and which meant we had a side yard and a double driveway or a driveway. I don't know if it was a double width driveway. I don't know, but we had a 2-car garage. And so maybe it was a single car. I don't know. No, it was 2-car garage because the single ones these days are really tiny. Anywho, so the dogs, became outside dogs, and but we had to tweak it because as they got older, the female would jump over our chain link fence. I mean, she was shorter than the male. They were both huge, like hairy German shepherds, and they were descended from police dogs. So they were easy to train, very loyal, very territorial. So my father had one of our neighbors was a Mexican contractor, and he was very talented. Like even when it came to our bedrooms, he built for us this loft beds because there were so many of us and we only had a 3-bedroom house. The basement was not finished. So he built these loft beds where I believe it was like, it was a system of 3 or 4 beds, but they were all within the same system and all elevated above the main part of the bedroom. And we were able to walk under, even as fully grown children, we were able to walk under that. And so we had our desk and our dressers under that very easily. And then we would climb ladders to get, it was very much like tiny house living, which is probably a part of why I love tiny houses. So he built the kennel for the female, and she was in there definitely overnight. And then my father had another garage door built on the back of the garage, because what would happen was when the dogs were at a young age, someone tried to break into the garage, to steal my father's tools. He had a really, really beautiful toolbox, and or who knows what they thought was in there, but everyone knew that he was a police officer, so who knows why. And the dogs couldn't get to him, so he built it so that there was an extra garage door in the back, but it stayed up so that the dog, the male, could always get in there. And then that's where he slept too, on his pallet, especially in the winter. And so let's see what else. and his that's where their food was on the inside. Her kennel had a doggy door that led to the inside of the garage, and she had a dog house with a pallet that she could sleep in or whatever. I think he might have had a dog house too in the garage, but they had a lot of hair. So when it would become really frigid, they would come in the house. But that's, I'm getting off track. I'm only talking about work ethic. This is why I'm mentioning all of this, because this is what I did. I would have to do whatever my inside chores was, whether it was the bedrooms, the vacuuming and polishing, the dining room, the kitchen, the bathroom, sweeping down the back stairs, or the laundry. Plus, I took care of the dogs, and that entailed before I went to school for the day. And I did this without anybody reminding me. Okay. I would feed the dogs, take the female out of her kennel, put her on an outside chain so she can be loose, outside of the backyard fence. She would be chained to the patio, and the male would be in the fence. I would give them water for the day. I would usually let them run around for a while. So I would get myself up at 5:30 in the morning. Then I would shovel out the poop from her kennel. Okay. This is from a young age. I had to have been, I want to say we got the dogs when I was maybe 12 or 13, something like that, though. And I would shovel all the poop out and then dump it in a far corner of our yard, trying sometimes to bury it kind of every day. Like every day, I would brush them. I would let them run around and play, and then I would, secure them for the day. Also, because I had five sisters and my mother is the next to the youngest in her family, and they all had thin hair and straightish curly hair. Yeah, our hair, I mean, she knew how to wash it and comb it out and part it and put it in plaits. But because she had so many girls, she did not do our hair every day. There was no way. Plus, she was taking care of a household and a husband. And so, no. So at a certain point, I was tired of us looking like Fright Night. So I learned how to do hair, and I was good at it anyways. I knew how to braid already. I had learned from another child that knew how to braid, and I learned quickly. Then I had a godmother who worked in a salon and then later had her own salon, so she would let me do washing, and then I think I watched her do perms and pressing and curling. And then my next door neighbor had gone to beauty school, but she didn't finish, but she knew how to do a lot. So again, I watched her do pressing and perms. And I had another neighbor who did hair in her basement. So I watched her press hair. So by the time I was about 11 or 12, again, maybe 13 at the most, I did. I washed all of our hair on Sundays. I blow dried it and pressed it every Sunday for everybody, myself included. For me and one of my sisters, I would do bangs. We were more adventurous. We would do haircuts. Oh my God, we did the works. And then at a certain age, I did all of our perms. So yeah, I did. I worked. And this was on a regular. No, my mother never had to tell me, go and start doing everybody's hair for the week. Never, never. In my mind, that was my beauty salon. I also, I was the favorite babysitter in the neighborhood. I was very dependable. My moon sign and my even if you don't believe in this, the zodiac only has to do with the alignment of the stars at the exact day and moment you were born. That's all it has to do with. And it has to do with the elements in your personality, in your character, what makes up how you do things, how consistent you are, how changeable you are, how flighty you are, how emotional you are, how emotionally detached you are, how you process information, how you go about, how you like to live, all of that. That's what it has to do with. Sorry about it, religious people, you know. But we'll do another. I'll do another video on religious versus spiritual because Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff we just need to blow up at this point. But I'm saying that to say, so I used to babysit. There's one family I babysat for the family so long that I knew the children from when the last two were newborns. And because I was the second oldest in my family, I knew how to take care of infants, toddlers, children. I knew how to be authoritative because of my father. I knew how to be nurturing and stick to the meal routine, bedtime routine because of my mother. So I was I just worked my ass off. But for that, that was the only thing I got paid for. But I think I was probably the first of my siblings to make money doing something. Plus, people would hire me to braid their children's hair just in like French braids or two cornrows or sometimes multiple cornrows and beads. I Let me tell you, I've always had a side hustle. Always, always, always. When I worked a full time job, first in my 20s, I had a friend who was from Africa. She was from Eritrea, and she taught me how to do the extension braids that everybody does now. She taught me how to do box braids. I already knew how to cornrow. And so she taught me by doing my hair. Okay. I learn by observation. I'm the type of person, you show me how to do it one time, I can do it. And I can, right. I then can improvise based on other stuff I can do, and I can just do it. So I started braiding my hair. Then people would ask me, oh, who did your hair? So I started braiding other people's hair for money. It got so deep that I had a side business in braiding until, because I have eczema and very sensitive skin. And even now, like you can see, my hands are darker from the rest of my body because I have eczema and I've been taking care of children for 15 years and washing dishes manually, basically, and cleaning. And it's just, yeah. So, anywho, um, yeah, I will work a full-time job all day, go home and have a client coming over for box braids, for like sometimes even teeny tiny braids where I'd have to finish it in a second evening. I wouldn't get to bed until 2 in the morning, still make it on time the next morning to work. I was never late for work. I'm not a late person. I hate being late because when I was little and I would be going to school, there were two boys. One who was not, I can't even talk about him because I don't want to offend anybody. He wanted to kiss me. The other one was my friend, but he could run fast like I could, and I was the fastest runner of the girls in my neighborhood. So the yucky guy, would get the fast running guy to catch me, and then he would kiss me on the cheek if I was late. Because if I was late, there were no parents around, there were no siblings around, there was no one else around but these two. People. And because of that, I was never late again. And it just, my moon is in Taurus. So I'm very routine. I'm very dependable. I remember the first time I babysat and felt this like overwhelming sense of satisfaction in being dependable. That's a Taurus thing. Pisces, we're very ethereal, spiritual, kumbaya, hippie, you know what I mean? Eccentric, um, free spirits, loving. We love simple. We find just happiness in the most simple things. Taurus, you're talking about somebody, if they say they're there, you can bet gold that they're going to be there every time. Every time. If they are in your corner, they're always in your corner. Every time. You hear me? So that's me, and I didn't know because someone in college, when I first went to college as a teenager, this white guy who was the boyfriend of one of my friends, he read my palm and said that I had Sagittarius in my chart, and that boldness I have. Well, I do, but it's not because of Sagittarius. It's actually because of Aries. Like I have a lot of Aries in my chart. Hot-headed like a motherfucker. Sorry. Hot-headed like a mug. But that main component of being dependable and reliable and consistent and routine is Taurus. And even my North Node, which has to do with your style of entrepreneurship, is Taurus. And that makes sense because even in my side hustles that I've always had, they've always been based on what I know and that I do it consistently. And the main theme in Taurus is this is what I do. And this and how I am, how I've always been. This is just what I do. See? So anyway, I'm saying that to say that in finding myself now with an extensive um credential and work history, I still find myself unable to find a stable job. And so I do things, on the side. I do things like I always do. I hustle, right? All right. So that loss though of my previous 20 years, 20 plus years of having a stable income, stable work life has caused me to go on a new adventure. And my new adventure is, you know, I have a tarot channel, I have a writer's channel, I am looking for several community colleges or small liberal arts colleges that I can teach for as an adjunct. And so that's how I'm going to approach it because many colleges these days, they don't want to hire the full-time instructor or full-time professor unless you have a PhD. So the way that's just how I'm going to run it as a business, as a freelancer, a freelance adjunct. So you gotta work your hustle however you can, but that's gonna be my main bread and butter. This is also going to be a part, my channel here is also going to be a part of my hustle. I'll probably teach what I learned during my master's. I mean, I might as well. I've earned it. You know what I mean? I have the credentials for it. So I'm going to create my own coursework in the meantime. I also, as you know, I'm a writer. I have ebooks on Amazon. I'm going to promote them here. I'm going to read them in their entirety, like part by part when it comes to the stories. But even like I might come on later. I have the thought to come on later to read my poetry books, in separate videos. So one will be one book, the other will be like that. I'll do the same with my short stories and just keep it pushing. I'm just starting with this whole, whereas everything is one vision and working from that vision, but I know it's going to grow. I'm talented. I'm good with people. I'm consistent. It's going to grow. And I study people that became very successful. I have the faith in myself. You know, I have the faith in myself. So I'm saying this is my new adventure. What that came from, I want to share with you is, let's see, at the end of the year 2000, I was in a relationship, kind of a relationship slash affair, but that's a whole nother subject of love. Um, and I had a miscarriage. And I've always, like I've told you, I grew up in a structured family. I've always wanted a family. And then at a certain point, I said, well, I always want children. So me and this person had gotten pregnant, and I ended up having a miscarriage due to a lot of stress, probably. And then just who knows. But after my heart was broken with that miscarriage, and I prayed and cried to God and healed, asked God for healing, I said to myself, I will never again keep living without doing things that I love to do, because it had been probably since at that age, I would think I was 33, 34. And I had not drawn since I was maybe 21. I had not done any sewing since high school, and I wanted to, sew. So I went out, I bought art supplies, and I bought myself a sewing machine, some fabric, and supplies for that. And I just jumped in. I made myself a whole new wardrobe. I started doing artwork. Yeah, And then I think, let me see, at a certain point, I found out there was actually a fashion design school, an art school downtown, and I enrolled. And I did 2 years in fashion design school. So I learned how to draw and do art for fashion illustration. I learned so much more about sewing, just really in the finishing of sewing and being precise in the way you sew. Just, man, I'm telling you, um, that was a whole new adventure. And then after that, I think it was a couple years. Let me see, when was it? We were in the 2000s at that point. 2005 was when I finished with that school. Yes. And I got into a relationship with someone where we were really supposed to be just seeing if we wanted to be in a relationship, because it happened in the religious organization that I was in at the time. And we ended up having an affair because I like affairs much more than I like long-term relationships. And that's a whole, but like I said, it's a whole nother discussion. Um, so I ended up getting pregnant. We ended up getting married. We had another child. It didn't work out because of just badness. And I don't even, yeah. If I need to, I will go into it, but I'm not going to really go into it. But just bad, the heinous behavior on the part of the other person. So I left that relationship. And because I left it in the way I did, again, at another turning point in my life, I said, you know what? I'm not settling ever again in life for nothing. Not for a person, not for because I want to have children, I'm going to be with somebody. Nope, I'm not settling for nothing. And so I decided I was going to go back to school. I had babies now that I had to take care of. I couldn't find a job. Like, in a lifetime of getting a job, because I had skills. Like, I have management skills. I have skills, like crazy skills, administrative skills, right? Couldn't find a job for nothing. This is in the middle of the recession. Okay. I already had a sister that was about to lose her house. She was laid off. I had another sister who has a PhD, who's always been very successful. It was hard for her to find full-time work. She was hustling, though. She stays hustling because of her credentials and her work history. She can always get into getting grants, getting on projects worldwide, doing speaker circuits, things like that. So, but it was still just hard, right? So I went back to school and got the credentials that I now have. I have a master's degree, a master of arts in writing, creative writing, and educational leadership, which is administration. I also have a graduate certificate in English, which is really comes down to English literature. And so I find that even when we're on a path that's practical, most of the time, God will swoop in and point us in a direction of something we really love. I've always been creative underlying every part of work that I've ever done. I've always been very creative, especially in the fashion design school. I I got straight A's. I was always on the president's list because of the creativity part of it, you know? And even the practical part, the things where I had to take business classes and things like that. I'm good at administration, so that was not rocket science for me either. I just flourish in learning and in everything now. I got the practical part from my mother because I think they always worried about me because I was the artist in the family among all of their children. And so in high school, I learned, secretarial skills, court reporting skills, basic business skills, and was able to work for Sears Tower. That was my first job. I didn't go into McDonald's. I didn't go into retail as a teenager coming out of high school. I went straight into office work. And so, anywho, let me stay focused because I gotta bring this to a close. when I went, I think it was when I went back to school, it is. And I wanted to decide what I wanted to do for this new life because all of my siblings had gotten their degrees in the traditional sense. Here I was in my 40s because I had my children late, having to come up with a real career uh, to sustain myself and now two other human beings. And so this is the advice part that I really am coming to. I made a list of 10 things, right? I already had a comprehensive idea of what I was good at from my life uh, that was extensive. I also had certain subjects that I absolutely loved, right? So I made a list of 10 possible traits and careers that I would like to do. Then I whittled it down to 5. Then I whittled it down to the top 3, right? And then out of that top 3, I said, what would I absolutely love to do? And I picked one, which was going to be fashion, even on the merchandising end. But at that time, I was living in a state that did not have a fashion design major, but they did have fashion merchandising. So, I chose that. Before I could even get to that, I found out from the school where I was attending for my first classes. I already had 2 years from community college in Chicago. So my advisor called me up one day and said, how would you like to have an associate's degree? I'm like, I would love that. Why? And she said, because with your next semester courses, you'll be done with an associate's at the end of that semester. So let's make sure that all of your T's are crossed as far as your requirements. We did some talking for a couple of days, found out, yep, I'm on track to graduate with an associate's. And but it was my making the list and knowing what I wanted to do that led me down that path. Now, when I went to graduate school, um, and just to show you how important it is to know what you want, when I was on the stage graduating with my associates, because it was the associates, and this was a university that had where you can get an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's. Um, do they have doctorates? I think masters may be the highest. I think masters. It's a master's college university. So I determined in my heart, like the spirit just came down on me. And I didn't like that I was at the back of the group of people graduating. I didn't like that, right? I was like, yeah, this is for the birds. I feel like a peon, you know. But when I saw the people that were graduating with their masters and they had different robes than we had, they had the garlands hanging over their shoulders. Some had tassels if they were graduating with honors, which I graduated with honors. So I did have a ribbon coming across my shoulders because of that. But I was like, I'm going to get my master's. I didn't know what I was going to major in for my master's. Well, I think I was probably going to just stick with fashion merchandising or whatever. But I said, no, I'm going to get my master's, and I knew it was going to be a fact. And I did. Now, eventually, I did not stick to the fashion merchandising because I would have had to stay in school so much longer. And at that point, I just wanted to finish. And so I majored for my bachelor's, I majored in what was called the individualized studies. So again, I stuck to what I'd already done. I had already taken for my associates all of the English literature courses that I could take. I had also taken some business classes previous to that university, and I had had my fashion design classes. So when I transferred to the other university that had the major of individualized studies, basically I filled it up with fashion merchandising, um, English literature, and business. Okay. So when I went to get my master's, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to study? Right. So initially, I knew I wanted to work in higher education. I know this is going on longer than my other videos. I knew I wanted to major in higher education. I wanted to work in higher education for the administrative side. And so I signed up for just EDL, educational leadership, right? And I went back to the smaller university where I got my associates. And on a whim, because I've always been an avid reader of literature, especially African American literature, African American fiction, African American, what is it called? Science fiction, and British literature, British classic literature, and British historical literature, like Jane Austen, Georgia Hare, things like that. And so, I had said to myself while I was starting my master's that I would love to one day write a book. And so, as I was looking through different majors, because I started thinking maybe I should major in English in the event that I want to teach like my mother did. When I get tired of working the strenuous job of directing a department for a university, I would like to just teach English. And so, under the major of English, they showed like creative writing for graduate courses. And it really, like, it was writing like fiction, it was writing nonfiction, it was writing books, it was writing poetry. And I was like, oh my God. And so I called my advisor and said, I would like to add they have this short story fiction course that I would like to take. Would that count against me? And my advisor was like, well, it's not really going to count towards your major, but if you just want to take it, you can, and just see. And so I took a full load for my major, and then I threw in the short story fiction course. I took that course and aced it so crazily. Like, I had never taken a creative writing course at all. I'd never taken a poetry class. I had never taken a writing stories or anything. And I got an A. And none of my classmates nor my professor could believe I had never had creative writing in my bachelor's. That's how, let me tell you, I'm creative. I am a creative force, period. Any creative thing I apply myself to, I excel. And so when that happened, and it just cracked open my mind and my heart and my soul for writing. And I went back to my advisor and said, can I double major? And they say, yes, it would be called, you would be a part of the interdisciplinary department, and it would be a Master of Arts, and you would have two majors. And so you would have to complete 18 credit hours for your educational leadership and 18 credit hours for your writer's major. Ended up, I completed 21 credit hours in writing and 15 in educational leadership, because that writing thing, man, and I excelled. Like my screenplay, for the screenplay course, my professor said it was the most unique he has seen, especially for our semester or for our class. But yeah, he said it was just very unique. He had never seen a screenplay like that. He said he could see me taking it to Hollywood and pitching it. That's how good he thought of my screenplay. I haven't done anything with it yet. I think I'm going to turn it into fiction and sell it on Amazon too. And then I'm even going to tweak the screenplay format and sell it in a bid type of mode for people that produce movies and on Amazon. But anywho, I'm saying all of that to say that when you're looking for a new life path in these difficult times, you got to open the box. You cannot think of things in terms of, no, it's just about me finding a job. I just got to find that job. I just got to find that job. Cool. But if it doesn't work out that way, then what? And at this point, we should all be looking into then what? Not even then what? We should be looking into now what? What now? And for those of us, like, I'm middle aged, I'm 53, you all know. Well, not all of you, but the people from my writers page know. But I'm not in the box. I'm looking at these young people make millions of dollars. And even if I don't have the goal to be a millionaire, I would at least like to be 100,000 Do you think I would turn down my ebooks making 200,000 a year because they become popular worldwide because I'm on a venue that is a worldwide marketplace? Do you think not just Amazon being worldwide, but YouTube is worldwide? No, I wouldn't turn that to hell no. And that's my goal. At least 200,000 a year. If I can get to $1 million a year, you'd think I would turn that down? No. Or even if I made $1 million a couple of times because some of my books just become so popular, please stop. So some of us that are middle-aged, senior level, there's so much wisdom you have to give. You cannot just retire from your life. Even if it's a legacy, something you can give from your experience of living, from your credentials, from just stories. If you've been a professor all your life, stories from the classroom. Come on. You can inspire so many young people with your experiences in activism, with your experience in marriage. If you've had a successful, loving marriage, you have something to give. Okay? We need to be on a life path of service where we make money from our service. Okay, I'm just going to mention tarot because I mentioned it at the beginning. This is my life purpose deck. Okay, there's nothing spooky or satanic about it. All this is, look at this. It points to different careers. Counseling, it gives you a description of what you could possibly go into. And it's just about someone shuffling these cards in a way. Look at this. This is the shuffle. This is all I'm doing. And shuffling the cards, they fly out. To me, that's a message for someone. Maybe for me, justice is what it says. And the description, I don't know if you can see it. It looks like a glare for me because of the shine from the window. I don't know if it's going to be a glare in the video. But it says your career brings fairness and protection to others who need your help. So there are people who are police officers, good police officers. There are people that work in the criminal justice system. There are people that are lawyers, judges, or people that want to go into those fields and have a talent for being fair, a talent for really wanting to serve humanity. And then, you get the message, you're on the right path. Justice, you should go into those. Like what I mean? Yeah. It's just encouragement. A lot of times it's just inspiration. A lot of times it's to tell you because in your experience in your life, you need to leave a certain job. And then you get a card that says, let it go. Look at this. Spiritual teacher. That's for me. That's for a lot of people, though. There are kumbaya people just like me who are hippie-ish, who are out of the box, but who really, like, I'm so simple in my approach to spirituality. I don't like for things to be too esoteric, too abstract. I'm very much grounded and rooted. Like you can see in my background is my nice comfy sofa with my crochet blanket that I made myself. Okay. And then a regular, really soft blanket draped across the back of the couch. There's right outside my window is a beautiful lawn and trees. And no, I'm very grounded in the day to day. But I believe in spiritual journey. You have to have inspiration in your life. This worldly life is not one dimensional. You're not meant to live this life only on the physical and logical. You're meant to live this life with one foot in the physical, in the practical, and you better have another foot in what you can't see, which is the spiritual realm, which is why you pray and meditate. Keep yourself linked up with what you can't see, because that's where blessings come from. That's where inspiration comes from. That's where people are guided into your life, and you meet them and you don't know why. You feel this welling up within you for this person. You feel a connection for a person, and you know in your heart that they're good. And I'm not talking about, they're good, but they're really bad. No. But where you can actually feel them, you can sense evil coming off of somebody. You can sense that someone loves you. Like, you can feel it. You can meet somebody and know that you trust them implicitly. If you don't have a foot in the realm of God, the creator, the universe, divine level of living, then you're dead. You can't only live a physical existence, but that's a whole nother video. So anyway, I hope you get some kind of encouragement. I know I went on longer than I usually do, but that's what live stream does. I hope you get something from this video, and I will be on a regular basis now from this channel to encourage you. Please visit me at my tarot channel if you're curious, or if you get down with things like that. I'm sorry, I got a drink. I do so many videos that I'm taxing my throat and my vocal cords. So I always have to have liquids. Oh. Excuse me. But gosh. I gotta heat up my broth. Whew. Okay, I've been talking for a while. My tarot channel is called Gypsy Hermitage. I made that word up. Gypsy Hermitage, my Gypsy Hermitage. I'm sorry. My Gypsy Hermitage Tarot, Tarot. And that's here on YouTube. I would love for you guys, to come in, show me some support. I know there are some of you that are supportive of me, that are good friends of mine on my writer's page. I'm not hurt if you can't, because you view it as something that is too far out there. That's fine. If you know that you are not challenged by that, please show some support. I'm a good person. I'm very supportive of all of your endeavors. And, reciprocity is something I love. Okay. Also, please remember that I have 8 ebooks on Amazon under Sadi Phayet, 2 poetry books, and 4 short stories, and 2 books that have 3 short stories in them each. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to help me grow this channel. I am going to be offering short courses, even if I, get adjunct positions. But this is also a venue where I encourage people that have some type of positions of authority in higher education. Please check me out. Give me a chance to work for your university. I would love to teach or work in administration. I'm very qualified. I'm very good with people. Okay. Help me to build my blessing of abundance, what I call my empire, the legacy that I'm leaving to my children. I want to be a landowner. I want to have a small farm. I want to build various tiny urban farms that I rent to families that also want to have that lifestyle. I have a vision, okay? If you would like to help me in that vision, please, please, please like, share, subscribe, leave me comments on what you think about this content. I'm going to go for now. Peace.